Hello, welcome to Polytechnic, my dear students. Welcome to Polytechnic English. Today we'll be uh, learning about the reading skills, how the reading skills will help the students to improve their vocabulary, their comprehension, reading comprehension, and the types of reading skills, how the pronunciation, and what are the tips to improve all that things. Okay, so first one, introduction. So reading is already reading is the receptive skills. Reading and listening are the receptive, and writing and speaking are the productive skills. Among that four skills, reading is listening, speaking, reading. LSRW reading is one of the language skills and one of the gateways of getting worldly knowledge. Traditionally, reading was considered as a passive skill, but it is considered as an active one nowadays, and one's reading ability decides his academic success. Education of a child is incomplete unless he is equipped with the ability to read, to decipher, to interpret, and to understand properly the content of reading material. So we can say reading is a good source of self-education. So by reading, a person can keep himself informed of all the news and knowledge, literature and science of world, whatever it may be. So reading skills enable readers to turn writing into meanings and achieve the goals of independence, comprehension, and fluency. So English language text can be used to encourage functional literacy in English among the students. So nowadays, you can see by reading newspapers, you can not only improve your reading skills, but also enhance the knowledge. You can enhance the knowledge of current issues and improve your vocabulary. So normally good readers are the good speakers, they say. So those people with a wide reading habit have a good oral communication skills. So reading is one of the four major skills and it is classified under the receptive skills. Receptive skills is receiving skills like. So the particular skills plays a vital role particularly in second or foreign language teaching. Reading is learned behavior, though it is a passive activity because reading means just we read. Writing means we are doing something manually. So though it is a reading is a passive activity, the active involvement and enthusiasm of the reader will pave the way for enriching his or her knowledge and experience. So the use of reading is inevitable to all walks of life. We cannot substitute the reading, remember. So reading varies according to one's purpose and need, proposition and domain. So as you know, among the four language skills that are LSRW, reading occupies an important place in the enrichment activity. Moreover, one's reading activity also helps to enhance the quality and ability of his other skill of language. Now, what is reading? A definition of reading. Reading is a complex and conscious activity. It is a complex and conscious activity. Using the written symbols, meanings, and ideas are obtained. However, the background knowledge is necessary for complete understanding of a text. So many experts have given their views about the reading, and they have defined reading in different ways. Like Widdowson in 1979 says that reading is the process of getting linguistic information. That means via print. Through reading, the information conveyed by the writer through the print medium is received by the reader. It is needless to say that the amount of information retrieved from the printed matter may differ from reader to reader. So here the definition also needs some specifications about the amounts of information a receiver gets from the text. So written text not only provides a linguistic meaning but also contextual meaning. Linguistic meaning involves representation information and it is called literal. Contextual includes the socio-cultural and represented information. The contextual includes the socio-cultural and intentional meaning incorporated in the text. So literal meaning of a text is accessible to the ordinary reader, whereas to obtain the pragmatic meaning of the encoded matter, one must have rich exposure to the ethno-linguistic. That means you should have the language, something, a background of that knowledge of the reading materials. So a deficient reader can only retrieve both his literal and pragmatic meanings from a text. Reading skills are specific abilities which enables a reader. So what are those one? To read the written form as meaningful language, to read anything written independence, comprehension, and fluency, and to mentally interact with the message. So these are the abilities which enable a reader and a reading skills. Now, what are the importance of reading in one's life, or in the student's life, or in anyone's life? We'll see. Reading helps one to keep oneself abreast of the ever-increasing knowledge. So once upon a time, of Francis Bacon, a famous writer, he says, reading makes the full man. It is through reading one can acquire knowledge in all subjects like arts, science, medicine, engineering, computer science, etc. So it is through reading the books we learn the thoughts, emotions, life pattern, culture, and tradition of the people of the bygone days and of the men and women living in the different countries. So by reading the words of such a great authors, we know about different characters, the interaction between the different personalities. We can also understand the way of life, the problem faced by the characters and solutions suggested by the author for the problems. So does the knowledge acquired by reading help us to solve the critical situations? So what is the importance? It is the knowledge acquired by reading. It helps to solve the critical situations which we face in the life. Hence, we cannot underestimate the importance of the reading skills. Many educationists wants to create an awareness of book-mindedness among the people. What is this book awareness? The awareness of book-mindedness depends upon efficient reading. That means efficient reading, on the other hand, depends on faster reading and reading with comprehension. Comprehension means understanding. So when many books are printed and published, they have to be read by the people. If the books are not read, the energy, the time, the money spent on the printing such books will be of waste, isn't it? So moreover, the information, the message, the ideas, the opinion of the authors will not be communicated to the future generation. So as you know, the holy books which were written long back centuries ago, now we come to know about the importance of that because of this reading. So if those books are not read, then we don't know about what would happen in that generation. Hence, it is highly necessary to develop reading skills in the students. So who are the future citizens of the world? So the pupils in the school, that people means PUPILS. The pupils in the schools and the colleges will be able to make good progress in all fields of specialities only if he acquires reading skills. Now, the important issue in all the stages of this character consists in improving the quality of learners' outcomes. So, in reality, different factors affect these results. Among them, one can find the quality of reading, the material used during lessons and seminars, and the learners. Got it? So the quality of reading, the material used during lessons, and the seminars and the learners. So the perception of the value of the reading skills. So part of this perception may be of reflection of the previous stages of learning process. So the students went through this, and another part is effect of current reading. Over the last decade, an explosion of research in the second language reading process, including readers, strategies have been observed. They have been of interest for what they reveal about the way readers manage their interaction with the written discourse and what the relation with text comprehension. So this interest has been seen in the number of textbooks and educational and the teacher prepared materials that are being published. The studies included various aspects as regards reading skills are focused. For example, on the reading strategies of learners, individual thinking differences and the strategy use, the relationship with general language efficiency, strategy used among young learners, and the strategy used at tertiary level. Now, what is reading? As I said, reading is a reaction to the graphic symbols. May it be reading aloud or silent reading. Reading aloud with meaningful sense group, good pronunciation, proper pauses, modulation of voice can be only understood by the reader and the listener. Silent reading helps one to read faster and comprehend better. So reading is often coupled with listening skills and is described as passive or receptive skills. But reading without understanding cannot be called as reading at all, remember. Hence, if the author is the encoder, the reader is the decoder. So encoding, decoding, in the process of printing. So if the author is the encoder, the reader is the decoder. And the reader reacts to the message according to his previous knowledge. The reader does not observe the text as such. He is blocked by problems of unfamiliar vocabulary, ignorance of facts, or intellectual interpretations. He has to tackle all these problems in understanding the text. The reading involves a whole set of complex skill as that of thinking. So when a reader reads a text, he tries to find out what the author intends to communicate. It is assumed that the writer and the reader should share certain assumptions about the world and the way it works. So thus reading is not a mechanical skill. It is a complicated skill involving physical, mental, and psychological factors. The following are the skills one has to acquire to become an efficient reader as mentioned by P. Gurre. What he said, let us see. Skill of reading aloud, skill of grasping the gist of a passage, the skill of deducing information or ideas from what has been read, the skill of being able to find facts and information in books and other printed matter, skill of being able to note exact information when one is reading. That means when one is, he has to interpret what one is, when you read something, some imagination you are building in your mind, that is. So the skill of being able to find facts. Okay, this was the concept, this was the fact. And where do we find? We find in the books. Okay, so the information or the ideas has been deduced in our mind. Now, acquiring reading skills will not be complete if the skill of comprehension, that is understanding and interpretations, are not acquired. A reading with comprehension, that is reading with understanding, is related to numerous skills that are interrelated, again, interconnection, interrelated. They are word recognition, phrase meaning, retention of meaning, sentence meaning, reading the context, paragraph meaning, recognize the structural clues and comprehend structural patterns, skimming, scanning, reading for organization, that is note making and summarizing, like skimming also gist of reading, scanning is reading by lines for a particular uh, for a particular text you are reading, that is scanning. Then reading for organization, that is note making and summarizing, draw conclusions, that is making inferences, you can say reading between the lines. Then critical reading, reading charts, maps, graphs, because even we can see how by seeing the graph we can interpret, like you can take the corona now, it's how it has been growing rapidly in all the states, in all the countries, we can say. So by seeing the graph we can understand, there is just we can get the idea, no need to read the paragraphs, we can just interpret from the graph the growth of increasing. So reading the charts, reading the advertisements, these are all the symbols. Reading to follow directions, reading to answer the questions. So here it is a substituting, we can say. So the printed page and the written word would be meaningless if the meaning is not understood by the reader. So thus reading is a complex skill which includes teaching, learning and training. Unless the learner has the aptitude for learning, for reading, he cannot acquire these reading skills. He should have the interest for reading. Now, skills of reading. Reading is mainly a decoding process. That is, encoder is a writer. He writes. And what is write? He writes some message. And the decoder, it goes to the reader. So the writer, the message, and the reader, we can say encoder, a message, then a decoder. So the encoder encodes the message and the decoder decodes it and understands it. So reading activity involves perception, recall, reasoning, evaluating, imagining, organizing, application, and problem solving. So the goal of all reading is the comprehension of meaning. So what is the goal? It is the goal of the all reading is nothing but the comprehension, the understanding of the meaning. So we can say effective reading includes not only a literal comprehension of an author's word, but also an interpretation of his mood, tone, feeling, and attitude. It was said by Smith, Dechant and Smith. In 1977, page number 237, it was written there. So reading is, as I said, it is categorized into two: word recognition, configuration, context analysis, sight words, phonic analysis, syllabification, structural analysis, dictionary analysis. Coming to the word and idea comprehension, it is the vocabulary development. It leads to literal comprehension, inferential comprehension, evaluation, and appreciation. So it is here analysis, here is the comprehension. Okay. So from the chart, it is clear That comprehension is the construction of ideas out of the reader's pre-existing concepts in interaction with the ideas of the writer represented by the writing in the text. So it is a construction of ideas out of the reader's pre-existing concepts and interaction with the ideas of the writer. It is interaction with the writer, what the writer will interpret. So the 5 major areas are included in reading comprehension. What are those? It is said by Equal and Shankar in 1985, Smith and Barrett in 1974. That is, first one is the vocabulary development. The 5 major areas are, first one is the vocabulary development. What is vocabulary development? Vocabulary is the words. So to understand the words used by the writer, vocabulary development is essential for the reader. How do you get when you expose to the books? That is exposure to books. When you meet people at different places, they all provide meaningful experience in learning words from context, and this will aid in vocabulary development. So how can you develop the vocabulary development? How can you develop the words? When you have to expose to the books, when you have to meet different people, and if you travel different places with the meaningful experiences. So we can learn words from the context, and this will help in vocabulary development. Second one, literal comprehension. Recognition and recall of explicitly stated information and literal comprehension. That means skill involved in literal reading are ability to read for the central thought and main ideas. So ability to read for central thought and main ideas, remembering significant details, sequence of event, and to find answers to specific questions. That is a literal comprehension. So first is the thought, getting the main ideas, then remembering significant, what are the details, and organizing that sequence of events one by one, and finding the answers for that specific question. That is literal comprehension. Third one is the inferential comprehension. It requires the reader to make hypotheses based on stated information. So he has to make the hypothesis based on the stated information. Intuition and personal experiences. You can say grasping cause and effect relationship. Anticipating the remainder of the story, and forming opinions and inferential comprehension skill. Suppose when you watch a movie, you can interpret what will happen next. Okay, this is the cause, this is the effect. You can draw the opinion. Okay, you can get that opinion. Okay, this is inference. You can draw that inferences. So that is anticipating the remainder of a story, and forming opinions are inferential comprehension skills. So we can find in many of the movies that the story, in rare movies, we can see the story doesn't end at all. He just give the opinions for the audience to influence that one. They leave that decision to the readers or the audience. So that is called inferential comprehension. Fourth one is evaluation. It deals with judgment based on the reader's experiences, knowledge, or values. That means evaluation focuses on qualities of accuracy, acceptability, or probability of occurrence. It includes making value judgments and analyzing the intent of the author. Like for example, if I say whether it was there, here it needs the evidence, whether it occurred. So based on this proof, based on the evidence, they give the value judgment and analyzing the intent of the author. So that is evaluation. So here the reader will write, no, it deals with the judgment, like based on the reader's experiences. Okay, if I'm writing, the reader can understand, okay, it happened, maybe the knowledge, what he has given in that accuracy, whether you accept it or not, that is occurrences. So this all, it makes value judgment, analyzing the intent of an author. Next comes the appreciation, the fifth one of this major, five major areas covering of the reading skill. The last one is appreciation. It is the reader's emotional and aesthetic sensitivity to the written selection. So the reader identifies with the characters and incidents. Like I'll give the example of a movie or any drama where the individual will interpret himself as one of the character in that movie, playing like. So here he becomes more emotional. Maybe that is coinciding with this individual's experiences. What he placed in the plot or what he placed in that character in that movie, he analyzes himself to be that character, and here he gets emotional. Suppose if he is facing a tragedy there, and the same here, the individual also faces the tragedy in his life, he gets emotional. And aesthetic sensitivity. So here, the reader identifies with the characters and the incidents happened there. So therefore, for a valid assessment of the skill of comprehension, all even we can say the poem also. When the poem is written, there is appreciation. So this is the valid assessment of the skill of comprehension. So all these five areas, that is vocabulary development, appreciation, evaluation, and inferential comprehension, all these five areas should be incorporated with measuring instruments. Okay, next one, what are the factors which influence the reading? There are many factors may influence the skill of reading. Some of the conditions needed by the children to make maximum progress in learning to read are physical. Okay, physical and mental health. If it's physically not visible, you cannot read. If they're mentally not feeling well, you cannot read. If that is abilities of visual and auditory recognition, intelligence, background of experience, knowledge of the language. Suppose if you give me the French, Latin and Greek, I cannot read. So knowledge of the language is very important. And one must have desire to read. If I'm not interested to read, I cannot. I don't feel pleasure to read. So that comes also, desire to read. Purpose for reading. What is the purpose for reading? Whether you're reading for pleasure, whether you're reading for academic, whether you're reading for, a novel. So these are all purpose for reading. Interest in reading, that is confidence, and certain other many environmental factors are there. Now, reading and reading skills. Reading in general is an ability. So the reader decode meaning from the printed or written words. So in the process of reading, the reader employs his reading skill, and the degree of reading skill varies from person to person according to the linguistic competence and background knowledge he possesses. However, the following are some of the important components of reading skills. The first one is recognition of the graphemes. Graphemes, already I said, that is word and the word with the phoneme. That is called grapheme. the recognition of the correlation of grapheme within the word, recognizing word boundaries and sentence boundaries, recognizing the meaning of words and its relationship in sentence, recognizing relationship between and among sentence in a discourse, deducing meaning of unfamiliar words, inferring implicit and explicit information and ideas of text, etc. Okay, next coming to the reading comprehension. Very, very important. Reading means reading with comprehension. Okay, so in the process of reading comprehension, the printed words are not just decoded as it is, but it is decoded by reader using his linguistic competence, social linguistic, and existing knowledge about the topic. So reading is not only the activity of merely decoding the writer's meaning, but also it is the activity of more than that. So that is sometimes the reader goes beyond that or understand nothing from that. Either he understands everything or he doesn't know anything. So that it goes beyond that or understands nothing from that. So it is the fact that one's comprehending ability can be decided by the internal and external factors. Under the internal factors like linguistic competence, that means what the readers know about the language, motivation, that means how much the reader cares about the task at hand as his general mood about reading, then the schooling and accumulated reading ability. So all well the reader can read are included. How well this reader can read are included. Under the external factors, the elements on the printed page, the qualities on the reading environment, factors related to textual characteristics like text readability, text organizations are included. And further, the qualities of the reading environment include factors like teacher activity that incorporates what a teacher does before, during, or after reading in order to help the students understand the information found in the text. So that's what when you were in school, the teacher used to ask you, read first. Take an example of a poem. What she used to do, she used to read aloud the poem. Then she asked the students to read. Then she used to give time for the silent reading. Why that silent reading? To understand you better and you can read faster. So before reading, she used to ask questions related to that poem. Then during, we used to have that aesthetic um, taste about that poem. Then after that, she used to ask the questions. So this to understand it better. So, okay, moreover, the way peer groups reacts to the reading task and the general atmosphere in which the reading task is completed are also included. Coming to types of reading, they may be classified as oral and silent reading, informational and recreational reading, observational, assimilative, reflective, and creative readings. Yokan in 1955 has classified reading according to the form, purpose, and the psychological process involved. So on the basis of form, reading is categorized as silent and oral reading. So the reader either reads to himself or to others. On the basis of the factor, that is purpose, reading may be classified as recreatory or leisure reading, and informational or educational or professional reading. Further, on the basis of psychological process, reading can be classified into 4 types. The first one is observational reading. Yes, when you do this chemistry or physics experiments, whatever the experiments, you have that observational reading. So you read, accurate reading is required there. Accurate measurement you take. So this is called observational reading, where the reader makes note of what the written intends to write, but makes no special efforts to analyze. Okay, it should be accurate or it remember the words or ideas. The second one is assimilative. observing, that is reading. When the reader tries to understand fully and remember what he reads. Okay. The third one is reflective reading, where the reader reads with a critical attitude. And the last one is called creative reading, where the reader tries to discover ideas so that he can use them subsequently in oral written expression. In other way, reading is classified as skimming, scanning, extensive and intensive reading. Skimming involves quickly running one's eye over a text to get the risk of it. Like you read telephone diary to get, you just go through that one to find the particular number, that is skimming. Or we just read the headlines of a newspaper, that is called skimming. Scanning involves quickly going through a text to find a particular piece of information. Suppose if I want to find a job, what do I do? I won't read the full newspaper. I just go to the column of that one and I go through each line by line for a particular piece of information. That is called scanning. Then extensive reading is nothing but reading longer text, usually for one's own pleasure. Like you read comics, you read novels, you read, many of the characters are there. You read for pleasure, to get pleasure. You feel happy. And this is a very fluent activity, mainly involving global understanding. Next, intensively reading. This involves reading shorter text to extract specific information. This kind of reading is otherwise known as reading for details, intensive. Okay. Then coming to poor reading. Yeah, poor reading is one's reading capacity normally fails due to his inability of recognizing words and deducing its meaning. If you don't understand the words, you cannot get the meaning, isn't it? So apart from word recognition, the knowledge about the subject of the written matter also controls the reading ability of the reader. And Berg in 1971, page number 5 to 7, says that the following are the causes of poor reading habits. What are those one? First one, lack of effective techniques, lack of effective practice, not a direct translation between a word symbol and comprehension. Word is compared to one in more common spoken language, insufficient background, technical details which demand a slower reading, and visual problems. These are poor reading habits. Coming to the effective reading. The reading proficiency depends upon his linguistic competence. That is reading for a meaning, word for the meaning, background knowledge about the subject and the words employed in the text. So a successful reader is a person who can handle large amount of written material. Now we'll see the following are the characteristics of a successful and effective reader. A reader is one who has purpose, who can concentrate, who can comprehend what he reads, who can remember what he reads, who has a good vocabulary, and who can read rapidly but with a rate depending on the material. So, purpose, concentrate, comprehend, remembering, and good vocabulary and reading rapidly. So, further his work, he says that knowledge how to select the right combination of a skill for a particular purpose to change the rate of reading in a coordinated reaction to purpose of the difficulty is the mark of the effective reader. So this skill is called flexibility. So the flexible reader is a purposeful reader. He knows how to skim for previewing an article before reading, and he knows how to scan for a specific information in a selection. He learns from his previous skimming to know whether to read the selection rapidly at an average rate or slowly. Effective reading is based on the reader's proficiency and the nature of the reading material. So not all the readers always comprehend all the textual information clearly. The factors that characterize effective reading are the context of writing, the words employed in the text, the reader's knowledge, his personal interest, and his reading ability. So it also focuses on the vocabularies, incidents, achievements, and innovative ideas used by the author in his work or his essay. So in this age of explosion of knowledge, the skill of reading plays the pivotal role in the life of every educated man. Okay, then ability of a reader. So like other language skills, reading is also a complex skill involving a number of simultaneous operations. So far, very little about the complex mental process associated with the learning and the use of language. So remember, a person who comprehends the reading skill can read an essay at normal speed. Remember, read an essay at normal speed. Understand the lexical and structural meaning of the words, phrases, and sentences. Guess the meaning of an unfamiliar word from context. Locate the topic sentence of the important points and infer the mood the writer. So thank you very much